Right to see everybody for our second night participatory Seder. Are you ready, Shalva? Yes, we're going to be leaving Egypt again. Last year, right, this is our second time we're doing it virtually. And last year I was thinking we were only beginning to think about social distancing and masks and everything that's become such a big part of all of our lives. And now we're experts. We know all about the vaccinations. We know all about quarantine rules. And our Seder is still different, right? We're in slightly bigger groups. And I know some of us have had vaccinated in-person Sedarim last night. So we have this hint of return to normal, but there's still a long way to go. And I think, we've all experienced over the last year a lot of gratitude for the things we do have, which we bring to our Seder. And we know every year we ask, "Ma nishtana halayla hazeh?" What's different about this night? And the answer this year is nothing, and that's the problem. Every day is the same, day after day after day. And you know, we're all hoping to taste some of that freedom. And I think this year, the Seder is an opportunity to experience that freedom by sharing with friends and companionship and something a little bit more informal, and reliving what Jews have done for millennia, which is our story from Egypt, and how we find freedom in unexpected places. I think if something we've all thought about this last year is how we found freedom in unexpected places. So let's enjoy ourselves. And I kind of imagine this like one big Seder table stretching from all of our homes in this virtual meeting space that we're all in. We're all linked together. So what I'd like to do to begin is have everyone unmute themselves. We'll just do this a little bit chaotically and just say their names and where they are. So
in unison.
Alana.
Hi.
Hi, Alana. Cherise, you want to introduce everybody in your, go ahead.
Okay, Cherise Rosen.
Jackson, Cohen.
And Kayla. And we're zooming in from Oak Park, so not too far away.
Wonderful.
Hi, everyone.
Who's next?
This is Todd and Irene Morgan. We're also in Oak Park in our home. We had a nice Zoom Seder yesterday with about 20 people, and we learned our lessons from the year before and injected some polls which engage people, and Todd put together a wonderful set of freedom quotes which we discussed. And I'm happy to be here with the West Suburban Har Zion community. Happy Pesach.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bob and Mimi Miller, and we're in Northbrook, and we're here.
Glad to be here. Glad to be on Zoom.
You're closer than you've been in previous years.
Yep, we just moved here.
Yeah, we left Wisconsin.
Just in time for the pandemic. Suzanne.
Suzanne Fournier, and I'm from your neighbor to the south in Berwyn.
Welcome from Berwyn.
Lenny and Robin Sofer in River Forest, along with Robin's dad, Bob.
Bob. Good to
He
see
just
you.
walked away.
So nice to see you.
Myra and Ted Lawrence, we're in Oak Park.
Alan Paris from Oak Park.
Hello, Alan.
Hi, and Carol from River Forest.
Hi.
Hey.
And Doug Laney in Chicago.
We're John, Jesse, and Jack Henry here in Oak Park.
Nice to see you. Hi, Jack. Big.
Lumens. This is Sarah, Mike, Sadie, Zach, and Benjamin. We're in Park Ridge.
Nice to see you. I don't see everybody. I guess you're on the sides. Oh, there you are. Nice to see you. Hello.
Oh,
there they
you
all are.
are. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah. Nice to see you. Who else is here?
Steve and Brenda Basca from the Dalles, Oregon.
You win the prize for being the furthest away.
Yeah.
Look at my background.
All right. In Mitzrayim. They have a
There's one in every group.
over. Oh, go ahead, Charles.
There's one in every group in Mitzrayim, right?
And you're in the synagogue.
No, I'm on the side of the building. I'm the sculpture.
Embedded in the stone.
No, I'm out in Hoffman Estates.
That's far.
Anyone else would like to introduce themselves?
Sherry Thomas, I'm in Oak Park.
Lovely.
Fun.
And here, my father-in-law, Michael.
Michael Newman, Washington, D.C. Hag Sameach.
Hag Sameach, Hag Sameach. All right. Anybody else want to go? We know, Phyllis, you're there, and we know that we're just happy you're with us, and anybody else. So we're going to be taking our little bit journey together, going through the Seder, the 15 steps, as we're going to sing in just a few minutes. At the Seder, we lean, right? We lean to the side because we're free people. We're not going to be doing a lot of this, but there'll be a few little moments for conversations or for very short people wanting to make a comment. And I just want to begin by saying we've all, during this year, leaned on other people, right? This has been a year to lean on other people. And I'd like to invite anybody who'd like to share the name of someone they've leaned on this year before we begin. Anybody like to go?
Okay, Rabbi.
This is
Fran
Fran.
and Paul from Forest Park. We just wanted to say we were transplants from Michigan, and moving here and finding your show was the best thing that ever happened to us, because both of us grew up in conservative synagogues and were raised in Michigan with a cantor and a rabbi that remind us so much of you and Cantor Figa. And we really, really feel like it's more like family than congregants. And I've especially benefited, or we've benefited a lot from your Care and Concern Committee with lots of
Absolutely.
help. And we really appreciate everything everyone's done for us. And I'll see if my husband wants to add anything.
Chag Sameach.
Hag Sameach. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lovely
Yeah.
to
Love you.
be with.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Would anyone else like to share someone they've leaned on in the last year, or we'll just begin our Seder? So we have a few places where people have signed up to speak, but then there's other opportunities. If anybody wants to say anything, please just jump right in. That's what a Seder is for. So let's begin by singing the order of the night. And Charles, do you mind putting up that page from our Haggadah?
You got it. You got it.
Let's go forward a little bit. Blessing the children to the order.
Well, what I'm going to do is get to heaven.
Ade Shurechatz Karpas Yachatz Magid Rachza Motzid Matzah Maror Korech Shulchan Orech Safun Barech Hallel Nirtzah.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's go to the next page. The page of the Kiddush.
Should I give it to you, or should I just sit here and do it myself?
And for the Kiddush, we pour the wine for, if you can, pour the
You mean
wine
the
for
Seder
someone else.
plate?
You know, this
3 people.
sit here on the couch next to her.
We'll do it after.
Before we say the Kiddush,
Suffer.
we have,
Okay, then you don't have to.
On
one second, we're going to have Ian and Susan read for us
Unmute.
on page 7, Here I Am, Ready to Perform. Susan and Ian, go ahead.
I don't know why this didn't work.
Susan and Ian, are you there? Oh, you're on mute.
We don't hear you,
Yep.
Ian.
No, it was.
All right, we'll do it again. Can you hear us now?
Now we can hear you.
Oh,
Okay. All right, take 2. Here I am, ready to perform the mitzvah of the first cup of wine and to dedicate this whole evening to telling the story of wonders performed for our ancestors on the night of the 15th of Nisan.
And Kiddush, Cantor Figa.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'am ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידישנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה מועדים לשמחה חגים וזמנים לששון את יום חג המצות הזה זמן חירותנו מקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ומועדי קודשך בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש ישראל והזמנים ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Amen. Shechianu prayer literally means who has given us life. I think we can all be grateful for that from the past year. So let's go forward to the next page, Urchas, the hand washing. And this is the hand washing without the bracha and no need to use hand sanitizer. So if we have a few seconds for anyone who'd like to go wash their hands. Keter, how about a nigun as we wash our hands? Perfect, thank you. Let us continue on to the third of our simanim, the third of our 15 steps, karpas, the dipping of the spring greens. We picked parsley, or in my family it was apple, but my wife's family won out for this one, so we're using parsley. We dip in the salt water, symbolic of our tears. I'd like to actually, before we do it, I have a question. What is one, we're beginning this new phase. We're hopefully coming out of the pandemic, and karpas is symbolic of spring. What's one thing that someone is looking forward to once all of this comes to an end? Someone's willing to share.
Having people on our roof deck.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Being with family and friends.
Being with-
Shaking hands and hugging people.
Amen.
The people that developed the vaccine.
Doing my own food shopping.
Visiting our children.
Thank you.
Traveling.
Traveling.
Being with family.
Amen.
Seeing my grandparents.
I
Okay,
know
so
what you want to hear, returning to shul.
returning to shul. Well, yes, that'd be great. Whatever you want. Okay, let us do it. Let us do karpas. We say together, we dip in the salt water. We say the brachat together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri ha'adamah. Amen. So we continue the yachatz, the next stage, the yachatz. We take the matzot and we break the middle one. And the bigger half becomes the afikomen. The middle one, we have every year this special matzah from a Yiddish farm in New York State. Looks very original. Shmura matzah. I mean, yachatz is breaking, and I think this year we can all think about, not difficult for us to think about brokenness and all those, everything that's happened. All the lives have been shattered. Everyone who's been struck with COVID. I often think about the families who've lost someone but haven't been able to go to the funeral or to visit or to have people over for Shiva visits. Or it's been a difficult year for all of us. So when we break the yachatz, we think of all of them. But yachatz also, there's an element of tikkun, of repair in it, because at the end of the meal, we take the part that broke and we bring it back and we make, and that becomes the afikomen. And even the other part becomes part of our motzi. So this is our hope and prayer that all the brokenness of the last year is brought into wholeness and is brought into tikkun, into repair. So let's break, if you'd like to follow along. We break the middle matzah. The bigger half is usually hidden. My kids are already on their way to sleep because they're too tired from going to bed at 11 p.m. last night. So someone else will have to hide the afikomen. And let us continue. Go to the next page. And this is where we begin. We're on page 12, Magid, where we retell the story. One more page, please, Charles. That one. We retell the story of the Exodus from Egypt, of the enslavement, of the redemption. And it's called Magid. Magid literally means to talk, because as a Reb Slonim, who's a Hasidic Rebbe, taught, why is this the main part of the Haggadah, the part that takes so long? Because this is how Jews find holiness. We talk, we discuss, we bring up questions, and this is what creates that experience of holiness, of Kedusha for all of us. So this is what we're going to do here. We go to Halach Ma'anya. Would someone like to read for us? This is the bread of poverty and persecution. Brenda, how about you? Are you willing to read?
Yes.
Perfect, thanks.
This is the bread of poverty and persecution that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. As it says in the Torah, 7 days shall you eat matzot, the bread of poverty and persecution, so that you may remember that you were a slave in Egypt.
הלך ידי אכלו אבהתנה בערה דמצרים ביערה ביערה דמצרים, כל דכפין יתה ויחול, כל דצריך יתה ויפסח, השתה אחת לשנה הבאה בערד ישראל, השתה עבדי לשנה הבאה בני חורין.
Thank you, Cantor. So this is the part in our in the Seder where we traditionally, the poor were invited to come to our Seder. I remember going to a Sephardic Seder once in Marseille, and they went around with a Seder plate and banged everybody on the head with the Seder plate around the table. It was a very, very cool custom. And a thought that's come to in my mind thinking about this is all the people in the last year who've been, who've lost their job, who have been through so much, who've gone through financial difficulties. And we know there have been so much. And our hope and prayer is that this year they find their place and everyone gets back on their feet. So Halach Ma'anya this year is virtual and I think extends to so many people in our society. So let us, if you'd like to, join me holding up the matzah and let us say together, let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in need come and share the Pesach meal. This year we are still here, and next year in the land of Israel. This year we are still slaves. Next year, free people. Turn to page 14. Charles, yeah, please share. Thank you so much. The 4 questions. The Jews, we are a people of questions. In the Talmud, there are 5,000 questions, they say, and only a few of them are resolved. And this year, I think we've had a lot more questions come up about life, the universe, and not too many answers. But sometimes maybe just asking the question is enough, and just doing what we can is good enough. I think that's been one of the lessons of this year. So, Ma nishtana. If Jack is still here, would like to read it, we'd be honored. If there are any other kids, my kids have gone to sleep, or if Alana would like to lead Ma nishtana, or anyone, any other kids here.
Mikol halevot, Mikol halevot, shebechol halevot, Anochim, Ametzu matzah, Ametzu matzah, halayla
Second question. Shebechol halelot anu ochlin, she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot, halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, maror, 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 maror. שבכל הלילות איננו מטבילים אפילו פעם אחד, אפילו פעם אחד. הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, שתף העמים, שתף העמים, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים. בין יושבין ובין מסובין, בין יושבין ובין מסובין, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולנו מסובין, כולנו מסובין.
Beautiful, thank you. So let us turn now to the next page, page 16. Charles, if you don't mind putting it up for us, and looking for someone to read for us the beginning when and time to come. Bob, are you able to read for us? Bob Henkin?
Just leave it on. Leave it on.
Can you see? You're muted. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. When in time to come, your children ask, what is the meaning of the decrees, laws, and rules that Adonai our God has enjoined upon you? You shall say to your children, we were slaves to Pharaoh in the land of Egypt, and Adonai freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Adonai produced before our eyes great and awful signs and wonders in Egypt against Pharaoh and all his household. And God freed us from there so that God could take us and give us the land that had been promised on oath to our ancestors.
Well, thank you. Avadim Hayinu.
Avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin, avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin.
And they volunteered to read What If? Ve'ilu lo hotzi. Bob, how about Bob Miller? How about you?
Okay. What if God hadn't taken?
You suddenly got muted.
Sorry.
Alexa.
What if God hadn't taken our ancestors?
Dining room.
Go ahead.
Hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Then we would still be enslaved to Pharaoh in Egypt, along with our children and our children's children. Even if all of us were wise, all of us discerning, all of us veteran scholars, and all of us knowledgeable in Torah, it would still be a mitzvah for us to retell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. The more and the longer one expands and embellishes the story.
That's it. Finish the sentence.
Okay. I have a critic with me.
I'm sorry here. You went.
We're adjusting the computer, sorry.
The more commendable. The more commendable.
Perfect.
The more and the longer one expands and embellishes the story, the more commendable.
Perfect. I actually like that we pause on that because there's a halakha, a Jewish law, that even if you know the Haggadah by heart, you still have to say it again and again every year. Why do we say it so many times and over? Because it's not about the knowledge, but it's about the telling of it. It's about the sharing of it. And that's really what gets under our skin and to our hearts, minds, and souls. So let's move ahead. Thank you, Bob and Mimi, together, joint efforts. We're page 18. The four children, the one wise, one wicked, one simple, one who does not know how to ask. So let's do the Hebrew for those of you who'd like to join in together. First, there's a blessing before. Baruch hamakom, Baruch hu, Baruch shenatan Torah la'amo Yisrael, Baruch hu. And then the Torah alludes to four children, one wise, one wicked, one simple, one who does not know how to ask. There have been so many interpretations of this one over the centuries and millennia. But something in my mind this year, I have young kids for whom the pandemic has been hard, but not quite as challenging as school-age children. I've really been feeling for the school-age children, especially teenagers, and everything they've gone through this year. I think probably every teenager in the world has been wise, wicked, simple, and not knowing what to ask over the past year, and has been through difficult times. So here's one child who is not afraid to ask. I think we're kind of like the child who does not know how to ask. Do you know how to ask?
Yeah.
What do you want to ask?
Hi.
Hi. That's my son Adiv saying hello to everyone. So let's, anyone have any thoughts on the 4 children they'd like to share with us? Or who they think they've been the most this year, over the past year? Or how, or children or grandchildren who talking about their experience over the past year and what they've done to found resilience. Anybody willing to share?
So I think I've been the simple child most of this year. My life has been very rinse and repeat, right? We spend most of our time at home. I might go to work, but then come home and essentially, you know, especially with the winter, it's felt like all the days blend together and life has been very, very simple. And I feel like, you know, that leads to a kind of an unstimulated mental life in some ways, which just makes things feel incredibly simple. So that's definitely who I've been this year.
Thank you. Beautiful. I think that the holy simplicity, the Rebbe Nachman, he said that actually the simple one and the one who does not know to ask, they're the best ones. The wise one is actually the worst one because he thinks he knows everything. But the ones who are simple and who don't know what to ask, they're the best ones because they know the secret to life is not knowing anything. Anybody else? Thank you, Jackson.
I also think I'm the simple child because when this all began, all I can think about is what is this all about?
Yeah. It's the question that's been on all of our minds. Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else? Thank you. So unless anyone else would like to go and talk about the 4 children, we're going to move forward. And this is where we tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. We're going to turn to page 34. Charles, if you don't mind putting that up. We're just going to read that first beginning, and then we're going to create the story ourselves. So if you could just, I'll read it. In the beginning, our ancestors were idol worshipers, but now God has brought us near to serve Adonai. So it's not the story we would expect. And it allows us each to bring the elements of the story that we want to bring to what enslavement and slavery are. But what we're going to actually do first is we have a pre-recorded video from Jesse, John, and Jack. Do you have that, Charles, or do you want me to load that?
I don't have it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I actually do have it. So.
Okay.
All right. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing. Sorry. Yasher Koach. Beautiful. Thank you, John, Jesse, and Jack, for that. Cantor, how about a let my people go? As we think about the story and what came right after that, right? God tells Moses to go tell Pharaoh. You're muted. Cantor, you're muted.
When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard
They could not
stand.
stand. Let my
People
people go.
go
Go
down,
down, Moses.
way
Down
down in
in Egypt
Egypt.
land.
Tell old
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh, let my people go. Thus saith the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go.
In this year, that call for freedom, which was in our scriptures, has not only inspired us, but so many others in this year of protest for racial justice. And we prayed that everyone experience that redemption. And part of our duty is to stand up for all others who are experiencing that oppression. So we're going to move ahead. We're going to go, Charles, please put up the next page on. Vehisha Amda, our blessing of gratitude for the redemption. So the practice now is to cover the matzah again, and we raise our cup. Together, the promise has stood for our parents, for us in good stead. For not just one enemy has stood against us to wipe us out, but in every generation there have been those who have stood against us to wipe us out. The Holy One, blessed be He, keeps on saving us from their hands.
Vehishe anda, lavoteinu vilanu. Vehishe anda, lavoteinu vilanu. Shelo echad bilvad, amad aleinu lechalotenu. Lo echad bilvad, amad aleinu lechalotenu. אלא שבכל דור ודור עומדים עלינו לכלותנו, אלא שבכל דור ודור עומדים עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו בידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו בידם.
Toda Rabba. So we continue on to the next page, story of the plagues. What happened between the story that John and Jesse and Jack did in that skit so beautifully to us, right? Moses returns to Egypt where he confronts Pharaoh to say, let my people go. And then we have the 10 plagues. I think we can all relate to the 10 plagues this year. Last night at our Seder, someone said there should be an 11th, right? COVID, part of the list. And it hasn't been only COVID. We've had floods, so we've had so many different difficulties, challenges this year. And something maybe that it's done is brought us closer globally, and thinking about needing to find that compassion for everyone in the world, not just our people, but the whole world. And there's that story right at the end when the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea and the Egyptians are drowned in the sea. And the angels begin celebrating. What does God do? God says, stop celebrating. They're my children too. And this is that year to think about compassion for everyone. So a new custom, we're going to be singing the 13 attributes of compassion, Moses' prayer of compassion before we do the 10 plagues. And a moment to really think of sending compassion to all those around the whole world who are in need.
Adonai, Adonai, Ilrachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, Notzer chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'afesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Elrachum v'chanun, Erech apayim, v'rav chesed emet, Notzer chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'afesha, v'chata v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Elrachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed emet, Notzer chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'afesha, v'chata v'nakeh.
Toda. So let us go back to the 10 plagues. And the practice, right, is to put our finger in the cup of wine and to take out 10 drops for the 10 plagues. We do it together. We'll do both the Hebrew and the English. And we begin. This is a more somber moment. Dam, blood, tzvadea, frogs, kinim, lice, avo, wild beasts or insects, dever, cattle plague, shechin, boils, varad, hail, arbe, locusts, choshech, darkness, Makad Bechorot.
Death of the firstborn.
Death of the firstborn. Thank you. So we left Egypt and we came to the sea. And at the sea we sang Dayenu. But before I wanted to share a little Dayenu that I found, which I found quite moving. After this year of COVID and all those who've been there for us and have helped us through the year. And I know at the beginning of the year, we had all that gratitude in our heart, and it's been a little bit of time. We don't think about it quite as much. But if we were only blessed with truckers who deliver food to our grocery stores and clerks who shelve them and workers who carry them to our homes, Dayenu, that would have been enough. If we were only blessed with police and firefighters who walk the streets to protect us, risking their lives to save us, Dayenu. If we were only blessed with hospital custodians, pharmacists, EMTs, nurses, and doctors, and all the other essential workers on the front lines who administer to the sick and help run our society, doing all they could to heal them, Dayenu. Let's sing.
Ilu הוציאנו ממצרים, הוציאנו ממצרים, דיינו, 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 go to the next page. Ilu natan lanu et Shabbat, natan lanu et Shabbat dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et haTorah, natan lanu et haTorah dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu,
Dayenu.
dayenu.
Dayenu. Let's continue. Page 52, Pesach Matzah and Maror. These are the three parts of the Passover Seder that we are told we have to experience for this to be a real Seder. The Pesach offering, the Matzah, and the Maror. Pesach offering is sacrifice, Matzah is humility, and Maror is bitterness. I think we've all experienced some of that over the past year. Sacrifice, a little bit of bitterness, and humility. And maybe this year we can relate to the Seder in ways we haven't done into the story than we've done in other years. So here we go. Let's put up on our screen. And would someone like to read for us, beginning Rabban Gamliel? Myra or Ted, are you able to read for us? Can you see on the screen, or do you have it?
Rabban Gamliel used to say, all who have not explained the significance of three things during the Pesach Seder have not yet fulfilled their duty. The three are the Pesach lamb, the matzah, and the maror. So can you go on?
Yeah, so let's point. You can point if you want to on your Seder plate to the bone. My parents are vegetarians, we're vegetarians, so we've always done a drying of a bone. So let's go ahead. Go ahead, Myra.
The Passover lamb that our ancestors ate in the days of the temple. Why did we used to eat it? To remind ourselves that God
Passover
houses in Egypt at this very hour, on this very date. Moshe had already instructed us, when your children ask you, what do you mean by this ceremony? You shall say, it is the Passover offering to Adonai, because God passed over the houses of Israel and Egypt when God struck the Egyptians, but saved our houses.
Wonderful, thank you. So we go to the next page, which is the matzah. We hold up the matzah. Would someone like to read for us the matzah? Alan, how about you?
Okay. Matzah al-Shema. This matzah, why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors in Egypt had time to rise and become leavened, the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, revealed Himself and redeemed them. The Torah says, they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves.
Thank you. And we turn now to the maror. We raise the maror from the Seder plate. Horseradish or any other maror. There are different kinds of maror. And would someone like to read for us? Maror al shum ma. Looking for a volunteer.
We can go.
Okay, great.
Maror, al Shema, this maror, why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that the Egyptians embittered our ancestors' lives. They embittered their lives with hard labor, with mortar and bricks, and with all sorts of field labor. Whatever the task, they worked them ruthlessly.
Perfect, beautiful, thank you. We turn to the next page. In every generation, b'chol dor v'dor, in every generation, one is obligated to see oneself as one who personally went out from Egypt, just as it says, you shall tell your children on that very day, because of this that God did for me when I went out for Egypt. But someone would like to quickly share with us how maybe this past year has helped them, or they feel hasn't helped them come a little bit closer to experiencing what it would have been like to have left Egypt, to have been in Egypt. Anyone? A thought that came to me when I saw the picture of a member of our synagogue, I think maybe the first one who got vaccinated, and the look of joy on their face looked like someone who had just left Egypt. They were so happy. I think many who've been vaccinated say felt that, the first vaccine, it was a moment of joy and of gratitude. Anyone else like to have any thought about what if this year has made it easier or not easier to think about what it's like to leave Egypt or to have been in Egypt?
We left Wisconsin.
I think we all like to joke about feeling imprisoned, but yeah, I can't imagine that this is anything like actually being imprisoned or being a slave. So I try to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Beautiful. It's been a year where it's also put a lot into perspective. I definitely agree with that. Thanks for sharing.
There's a beloved tune to Bechol Dor Vador in every generation. Bechol Dor Vador Chayav Adam lirot et atzmo כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא מצרים, כאילו יצא ממצרים.
Let us go forward, page 55, the beginning of Hallel, Hallelujah, that expression of joy of leaving Egypt. Together, we have just completed the Magid, the story that begins with slavery and ends with liberation. We have retold it as our own personal story. Now it is only fitting that we thank God by singing a new song. Cantor, would you like to sing for us on page 56, Hallelujah?
ונאמר לפניו שירה חדשה, ונאמר לפניו שירה חדשה, ונאמר לפניו שירה חדשה, ונאמר לפניו שירה חדשה. הללויה, 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 הללויה. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Beautiful, thank you. Let's go to the next page. Anything else you'd like to sing from here, Cantor?
What have we got?
We've got the Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 Avdei Adonai. Hallelujah, 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 et Shem Adonai. Hallelujah, 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 Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. Hallelujah, hallelujah, me'ata va'ad olam. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. There we go.
Hallelujah. Let's go to page 58. We're almost there. Together, the next page. Here I am ready to perform together, ready to perform the mitzvah of the second of the 4 cups, the cup of redemption. Please join me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the world, who redeems us
and redeemed our ancestors from Egypt.
who brought us to this day. Tonight, to eat matzah and maror. Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, may you bring us in peace to future holidays. May we celebrate them in your rebuilt city. May we be able to eat the Pesach lamb and the other sacrifices offered on the altar. We will thank you for our redemption. Blessed are you, Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And the blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen chaim. We go forward to the next page, 59, Rachatzah, the second hand washing, this one with a blessing. In the temple, they actually wash both hands and feet. But since we know everybody's hungry, we only have to wash our hands. This is the bracha with washing with the bracha. How about a nigun, Cantor?
Yeah.
Perfect. Matzah. Together, here I am ready to perform the mitzvah of eating matzah. We lift the matzah. And we say together the 2 brachot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Eat the matzah. Let's move on to our next page, the Maror, page 60. Take different traditions for this one. Take a little bit of lettuce, put some charoset, the Maror, all of it together.
This is fork, I guess, for this one. Fork and a spoon. I'll use old parts.
Here I am ready to perform mitzvah eating maror. Together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. It's even better the second night. Actually, Charles, could we go back to that page for a second? Would somebody like to read for us that little bit, the Union soldiers? Little comment there.
I'd like to read. That's okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Unions, one of the most literal yet inventive representations of charoset was conceived during the American Civil War when a group of Jewish Union soldiers made a Seder for themselves in the wilderness of West Virginia. They had none of the ingredients for traditional charoset handy, so they put a real brick in its place on the Seder tray. This caught my eye because Joan and Nathan has a cookbook, Jewish Cooking Across America. And in that, she has a few interesting stories about American soldiers during the Civil War and anecdotes about how they celebrated Passover, which are very interesting.
Can you give us an example of one of them, or?
Well, the one that sticks in my mind, there was one similar to the one that I just read, but there was one that a boy in, I think, Charleston, one of the southern states, goes running. He sees a soldier, a Union soldier, wearing a yarmulke, and he goes running into his house. Mama, mama, there's a Yid, and it's a Union soldier. And I think that was just, it wasn't a slur. It was just the Yiddish word for it. And she goes running out and says, "Oh, come in for the Seder." So that was a really cute story. I condensed it quite a bit, but and there were others too. So it's a great cookbook in terms of having wonderful anecdotes.
Amazing. Well, we forget how long the Jewish history in this country goes back to, but we,
right.
Beginning a congregant of ours had great grandparents on each side who were both tailors, but on opposite sides of the war. One was a tailor Union side and the other on the Confederate side.
Interesting. So what this cookbook talks about is, even in the context of Jews in America, the multiculturalism, the Jews in the Southwest and the Jews in California and the Jews in the Southeast, and the ways there were some foods in common, but also each culinary culture incorporated the traditions of the region of the U.S.
Super interesting.
After recently discovering Susan's Sephardi roots, we were looking into some traditions and learned that Jews in Gibraltar actually add a little bit of brick dust to their haroset.
Wow. Did you do that?
No, not this year. Maybe next year.
But there's a
I
really
look for some organic brick dust.
the Whole Foods near you. There's a very rich tradition of the Jews of Gibraltar, and I know a bunch of them, and they ended up going and becoming entrenched in London and New York, all kinds of communities around the world. But they're one of the oldest Sephardic communities around. They have a lot of really interesting customs. We're going to the last bit before we eat. This is the Hillel sandwich. And the Hillel sandwich, it says, is in memory of the temple, in memory of the Mikdash. We say Zecher LeMikdash, the Mikdash Kehillel, when we eat it. And I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment and maybe share, if you'd like to, if there's to think about something, a person or a sacred moment of the last year, or something you've done that was a temple for you amidst all of it. Something that helped you through all of it, a temple, a sanctuary. Would someone like to share just a quick word, something that helped them through this year? We're on page 62. Someone like to share something over the last year that helped them get through the pandemic?
Learning to take long walks.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've heard a lot of that. Yeah, we have a congregant who lives next to the forest preserve here in River Forest, who said he goes for hour-long walks now every day and never used to.
It feels so good. Feels so healthy, and it was always there.
Yep. Maybe we'll take all those things back with us as we go forward post-COVID. So let's make our sandwich. We take 2 pieces of matzah. We put maror, put charoset, put some lettuce, put it all together, and we say the bracha. Well, not a bracha, the Hebrew zecher lemigdash kehilel. Together, we have just eaten matzah and maror separately. However, in the days of the temple, Hillel, the head of the Sanhedrin, used to bind into one sandwich Pesach lamb, matzah, and maror. He ate them all together in order to observe the law. You shall eat it on matzot and maror. Eating the sandwich tonight reminds us of the way life combines moments of suffering and of relief, enslavement, and freedom. So he says, Zecher lemigdash keilel, in memory of Pesach in the temple, as Hillel used to celebrate it. And we eat our sandwich.
They don't have this at Subway.
Friends, we're gonna take a break now for half an hour to eat. Anybody who'd like to stay on is welcome to stay on to chat. But it's almost 7:45, and we'll come back together around 8:15. See if everybody's done, and we'll finish the Haggadah then. B'teavon, bon appetit. Enjoy your meals.
Appetit.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Es Gesundheit.
So we can reduce it. Have enough juice, so we're good. So Carol never signs it, but
Who?
says just
Oh, Carol, who?
sign it. Or maybe she doesn't know how to do it.
Come on, Fran.
Hang on. Wait, so,
I'm gonna take your shoes off. While you're doing it.
yeah. Oh,
Get you a fresh bottle of water.
we're gonna eat. Do you can warm up the brisket?
Yeah, I had the brisket and I had the potato cover and a white hamburger soup.
But did you warm it up?
It's an oven. Yeah, we're gonna eat it cold.
No, I'm asking if you already put it on.
It's been on 225 for a while.
I'm down. I feel like if they could come 3 days a week and I could keep up doing it on the other days,
Yeah.
I'd be so much better, you know?
Yeah.
Ah. How's my puppy? How's my puppy? That's puppy. One more one. You're in finally fishing. Yay.
We still have another salad.
Oh, really? Well, you can have it. Take it for lunch tomorrow.
Going to work.
I know, but you can take it.
No, this is
Dress them over there. That's a good thing to eat with all this matzah. Well, we're gonna call Carol and make sure she got on. But okay, trying
Yeah,
to.
it's Alan Paris. It's
Oh.
something we should-
Hello? Hi, Alan. Yeah, hug Samaya. Oh. Oh, thank you. Thank you, because I'm sorry. Okay. Thanks for letting us know.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
everything
Hello, everybody. Anybody there?
Hello, hello.
Anybody eat gefilte fish?
Hot roast.
Steve and Brenda, what did you eat?
We had roast and salad and matzo ball soup.
Sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear. My audio was turned down. Sorry.
Oh, I said we had roast and matzo ball soup and roasted vegetables and salad.
Nice. Sounds great. How was your first night Seder together?
Very nice.
What Haggadah do you guys use?
The one that you had emailed.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm so glad that we didn't drink like the full glass of wine. You know, you had a late night if it went till 10 or 11 last night, because this morning we were only able to connect by Facebook, but that was early this morning, 8 o'clock. Was it?
No, it was a regular time. It was 10 a.m. It felt like 8.
Oh,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock our time. Okay.
It was actually this year. Our Seder went not quite as late as other years. Sometimes we finish at 1 a.m. or when we do everything and talk about everything, or later. A few years ago, I had Cantor Figa and I always share our Seder together usually. A few years ago, there were 2 other cantors, so we had a Seder with 3 cantors, and we sang for an hour and a half at the end. It just went on and on. It was great.
I'll tell a Passover story on Brenda. A few years ago, well, several years ago, she went and ordered some Manischewitz from a local store, and she intended to order 8 bottles. We wound up with 8 cases.
That's expensive.
Yeah, well, we're still using it.
There you go. Well, we were all out of Manischewitz here at their local grocery store. So if you would have been, your Manischewitz would have been appreciated locally.
Yeah.
Bob, how are you doing? You're on mute. Sure.
Bob Henkin, Bob Miller.
I didn't know you were there, Bob Miller, so I was asking Bob Henkin.
Oh. I'm doing fine. Getting older every day.
Where'd you get your food from the Seder?
Well, that's interesting. I got the Seder meals from Zelda's. And then I found an likely online site while doing a search. And they sell all types of frozen food.
Wow.
And one of the things they have is a kosher for Passover line.
Huh.
And it's a kosher for Passover line that provides a meal for each day. And it couldn't be better for me. What?
Oh, that's amazing. What's it called?
Like $200 something for the entire week. And the meals are excellent. The food is really good. They tell you where they get it from. They don't make it themselves. They buy it from somebody. And I could not be more pleased, because cooking is very difficult for me now. I eat what I call unit dose meals, where everything is prepackaged and pre-wrapped, and all I have to do is heat it. Because my back makes it difficult to stand in front of a stove and cook. So I'm very pleased. I mean, I would have spent any amount of money, but it's a reasonable amount of money for 6 meals, and I cannot be unhappy with them.
It's a lot cheaper than Zelda's.
Yes, about half the cost. And it's supposed to show up on the 25th, all frozen. Showed up on the 25th, all frozen, all packaged, ready to go.
What kind of meals? What's the food in the meals?
Mostly chicken, variations on chicken, and kugels, and it's all prepackaged in little trays. Potatoes, and I as I said, I couldn't be happier with them. I didn't know what I was getting because it's the first time I've ever done that. And I will get you the name if you're interested.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. I love.
But they were the #1 listing on the frozen Passover food on the internet.
Yeah, really. Well, that helps.
I think it's something like Goldenberry. And I don't know if they sell kosher food year round, but they do for Passover.
Anything that makes Passover easier is worth investing in. Gold Belly, is that it?
What?
Gold Belly?
No, no, this is a site somewhere on the East Coast.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised to find them, but I can say nothing bad about them. So far, their food has been great.
You know, every year Passover is such a, with kids especially, what are you going to cook them? You know, what are you going to do? We're vegetarians, we don't eat meat, so it's, you know, finding something to eat is really a struggle.
Well, they have vegetarian meals.
You do? That's great.
I didn't order any vegetarian. I'm honestly a carnivore to the core.
Okay.
And that a nice piece of meat is a treat for me. Most of what I eat is either synthetic meat or low portion, ground, reshaped something that's low fat.
Yeah. Healthy, right? So to speak.
Yeah. And requiring only a microwave to reheat.
But I look at it this way. The first time we have
That picture behind you, for a while when I saw you, I thought there was somebody there behind you. But then
It's a background. It's a background with my granddaughter in it. She's gonna have her 12th birthday on Monday.
if we took the lessons
Yeah.
we have
I don't know what it's like to have a birthday party during Passover, but I'm sure Stephen will figure out what to do.
Manischewitz cake.
like you said, in the post-mortem, we have
Their 12-year-olds are much older now than they used to be. That she's far more mature, far more world conscious than we were at 12 years old, I can tell you that. And it's been very pleasing to watch my grandkids grow up. I mean, it's been one of the great experiences of life to see them encounter the world and figure out what to do with it. And my other granddaughter, who's 22, is just graduating from college this year. And she's in the position of trying to find a job. And she's found 3 jobs that she's working at, and that may have to stay that way. That she may not be able to get a single job. She may be able to get 3 part-time jobs, because in her area, which is motion picture and film production, there are not a lot of jobs right now.
Interesting. What part does she do?
I'm sorry?
What part of the production does she do?
Anything they'll pay her for. She's predominantly a writer, but she's a good editor. She's in a new program at the University of Chicago for this. She's in the first graduating class, and she's had tremendous experience. But there's a lot of film production that goes on in Chicago. It's a very active site for film production. So she's been able to get jobs that really give her good experience and good contacts. And she's trying to figure out what she's going to do come June. She's still living at home because of the COVID.
It's been such a strange experience for students, where students spend half their undergrad years at home, instead of being with their friends. I feel so bad for them.
Oh, she would much rather be with her friends, but it's not practical.
Yeah, so much of college is being with your friends. So. All right, I think everybody will begin. It's 8:18. And we begin, everybody there? Nice to see you. Good.
Yeah.
Hello, Sherry. Okay, let's begin with the eating of the afikomen. This is where we save the sweetest until last. And the afikomen is supposed to be the last taste in your mouth. And afikomen is freedom, so you want freedom to be the last taste in your mouth. So you take it to dessert.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Payments, payroll, banking, and live coaching.
We eat apikumen. We stay together.
It's my after work decompression zone. So when my
Here
windshield
I am, ready to fulfill the mitzvah
in my car, I found the expert.
of the apikumen. The matzah is a reminder of the pizza of sacrifice, which is eaten on a full stomach in the days of the temple. All right.
It's in this one.
Our afikomen didn't go very far from right on the table. Birkat Hamazon, Kantor, can you lead us in the blessing after meal? We pour a top up to our cups, and we do.
שיר המעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו ככל ימים אז ימלא שחוק פינו ולשוננו רינה אז יאמרו הגויים הגדיל אדוני לעשות עם אלה הגדיל אדוני לעשות עמנו היינו שמחים, שוב אדוני את שבתנו כאפיקים בנגב, הזורים בדמעה, דרינה יקצרו. הלוך ילך ובכו, נושא משך הזרע, בוא יבוא ורינה, נושא אלומותיו. רבותיי נברך.
יהי שם אדוני מבורך מעתה ועד עולם.
יהי שם אדוני מבורך מעתה ועד עולם. ברשות רבותיי נברך. אלוהינו שאכלנו משלום.
ברוך אלוהינו שאכלנו משלום וטובו חיינו.
ברוך אלוהינו שאכלנו משלום וטובו חיינו. ברוך הוא מבורך שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אזן את העולם כולו בטובו בחן בחסד וברחמים הוא נותן לחם לכל בשר לעולם חסדו וטובו הגדול תמיד לא חסר לנו ואל יחסר לנו מזון לעולם ועד עבור שמו הגדול כי הוא זן ומפרנס להכל ומטיב להכל ומכין מזון לכל בריותיו אשר ברא ברוך אתה אדוני אזן את הכל נודה לך אדוני אלוהינו על שהנחלתנו על חטא לאבותינו ארץ חמדה טובה ורחבה. Our God and God of our ancestors, show us your care and concern. Remember our ancestors. Recall your anointed, descended from David, your servant. Protect Jerusalem, your holy city, and exalt all your people Israel with life and well-being, contentment and peace on this festival of Matzot. Grant us life and blessing and remember us for good. Recall your promise of mercy and redemption. Be merciful to us and save us, for we place our hope in you, loving and merciful God. מגדול ישועות מלכו ויעשה חסד להמשיכו לדוד ולזרעו עד עולם עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
Continue on to the third cup. Conclude with the bracha over the wine. Together, here I am ready to perform the mitzvah of the third cup of wine, which concludes this Pesach meal. Together, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Peri Hagafen. So now we come to the cup of Elijah. Cup of Elijah. One way of doing it, you can either pour a large cup of wine in the middle, put it in the middle of your table. What I like to do, I mean, it works better when you have a lot of people at your Seder, where everybody pours a little bit of their glass of wine into the cup of Elijah. And then we open the door for Elijah to come. A Hasidic story that I heard this year in connection to Elijah, which I love, right? Elijah, why do we have a cup for Elijah? Elijah is a symbol of the Messiah, a symbol of messianic times. There's a Hasidic story that once one of the students of Reb Elimelech of Lezintz came and in front of a group told the Rebbe that he'd had a Gilui Eliyahu, a vision of Elijah. And everybody was astounded that here he was, just one of their students had this vision, but Rebbe Elimelech said, no, it's true. He did have the vision of Elijah. There was silence. And then finally, one of the other students said, I read that Ibn Ezra, that one of the great medieval rabbis of all time, wrote in his final days that his whole life he'd waited to have the vision of Elijah, Gilui Eliyahu, but it never come. So how could Ibn Ezra, who was such a great scholar and rabbi, didn't get the vision of Elijah, but here our friend, who's a great person, but somehow he got the vision of Elijah. So Rebbe Elimelech explains, and he says that every one of us has the potential of experiencing the vision of Elijah. And what's Elijah? Elijah is that part of us that's working towards messianic times. It's working towards fixing the world and making this world a better world, a world of peace and kindness and compassion. And Reb and his friend and the student, he had a small part to play in that mission, and he was able to fulfill it. While Ibn Ezra, who was such a great scholar, but he had a huge part to play, and he wasn't able to fulfill it. But what it means is that each one of us, we all have a little spark of the Messiah within us, and we're all part of that mission, part of what it means to be Jewish. So let's pour a little bit of our cup into Elijah's cup. And the custom, now here, I'll take you with me to my door, because we're going to open the door and sing Eliyahu Hanavi. So,
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimhera v'yameinu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi.
let us now go back to our Haggadah to read the second half of the page. Instead of pour out your wrath, we will do the modern pour out your love. Would someone like to read that for us? Bob Miller, how about you? You're muted.
Why don't you volunteer?
Afraid you were going to say that. Pour out your love.
Yes.
Pour out your love on the nations who have known you and on the kingdoms who call upon your name. for they show loving kindness to the seed of Jacob, and they defend your people Israel from those who would devour them alive. May they live to see the sukkah of peace spread over your chosen ones and to participate in the joy of your nations.
Beautiful. Toda. Turn to page, let's go forward, page 70. Les Cantor, you want to sing Ani Mamin or we'll go straight to Hallel? Well, since I'm not, we're going to go straight to Hallel. Page 70. Cantor, how about singing at the bottom right, Yavarech et Beit Yisrael? Pour the fourth cup of wine before if you'd like to top up your glass, and then we conclude the Hallel. Cantor Figo, you're muted. If you're singing, we can't hear you.
Hodu Adonai.
Adonai Zacharnu Yavarech et Beit Yisrael. Whatever one you want.
Adonai, let's see. Hodu Adonai ki tov ki leolam chazdo. Yomarna Yisrael ki leolam chazdo. Yomruna vetaron ki leolam chazdo. Yomruna Yirei Adonai ki leolam chazdo.
Next page. Let's do, how about Pitchu Li Sharei Tzedek? On the right-hand side, the second in the blue.
Pitchu Li Sharei Tzedek Avov Amodeya. Pitchu Li Sharei Tzedek Avov Amodeya. Pitchu Li Sharei Tzedek Avov Amodeya. Zehashal Adonai Kim Yavovo.
Page 72. Anything you'd like to sing there, Cantor? Nishmat Kol Chai.
Nishmat Kol Chai Tivarech et Shimcha Adonai Eloheinu V'ruach Kol Basar Tifarer Utromem Zichracha Malkeinu Tamid Min HaOlam Yad HaOlam Ata El ומבלעדיך אין לנו מלך גואל ומושיע, פודה ומציל ומפרנס ומברכים, בכל עת צרה וצוקה, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, a fourth cup, the next page. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
We count the Omer tonight. This is the beginning of our journey of the Omer, 50 days to Sinai and to the holiday of Shavuot. And Chazal, the rabbis, were very practical people, and they thought, well, having a Seder is all very nice and well, but how do you take an experience of one night and turn it into part of your life? And that's what the Omer are about. The Omer is you count every day is a different attribute of your character to work on, to integrate the experience of redemption, of freedom, and bring it more fully into our lives. So we say this together. Here I am ready to perform the mitzvah of counting the Omer. In the Hebrew, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kedishanu Mitzvotav V'tzivanu Al Sfirat HaOmer. And then we count. Every day we count a different one. Hayom Yom Echad LaOmer. Today is the first day of the Omer. So we come at last to the songs that conclude the Haggadah. First one up, one of my favorites, Adirhu, though they spelt it wrong.
Adirhu, Adirhu, Yivne Veneto Becharov, Bimhera, Bimhera, Biamenu Bekarov, El Bnei, Bnei Vecha Bekarov, Bachur Gadol Hu, Yivne Veneto Becharov, Bimhera, Bimhera, Biamenu Bekarov, Bimnei El Bnei, Bnei Vecha Bekarov, Vatiku Zakaitu, Yivne Vedet Karov, Bimhera, Bimhera, Biamenu Bekarov, El Bnei, Bnei Vecha Bekarov. And on through the alphabet. And we move to the next song, Yo Echad Mi Yodea, Echad Mi Yodea, Echad Ani Yodea, Echad Eloheinu Shebashamayim Uvaretz, Shnayim Mi Yodea, Shnayim Ani Yodea, Shnei Luchot Abrit, Echad Eloheinu Shebashamayim Uvaretz, Shlosha Mi Yodea, Shlosha Ani Yodea, Shlosha Avot, Shnei Luchot Abrit, Echad Eloheinu Shebashamayim Uvaretz. I have a song, I have a Chad Gadya in English. And let's see, continue. And I want to continue and share this screen. Chad Gadya. My father bought for two zuzim, Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Rabbi, do you want to say something about Chad Gadya?
Chad Gadya is goes all the way back to Abraham. Abraham sang this with Sarah at their Seder.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
A long time ago. Chad Gadya, it's some people say that the title itself is a joke, an anagram for another Aramaic word. But you know, it's all escaping me right now. I think that Chad Gadya is one of the oldest songs at the end of our Haggadah. And it's one of the hardest to read because it's in Aramaic, obviously. So it goes all the way back to when Aramaic was the lingua franca of the Near East. And I know my kids love to make the sounds of all the animals.
That's why it's fun to do it in English. It's easier. My father bought for two zuzim, Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the cat and ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the dog and bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the stick and beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the fire and burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the water and quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the ox that drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the butcher that slew the ox that drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the angel of death and killed the butcher that slew the ox, that drank the water, that quenched the fire, that burned the stick, that beat the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya, chad gadya. Then came the Holy One, blessed be he God, and destroyed the angel of death, who killed the butcher that slew the ox, that drank the water, that quenched the fire, that burned the stick, that beat the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the kid my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad gadya,
Oh my God, yeah.
Thank you, Cantor.
Otazoi.
I love that English version. Okay, let's conclude our Seder. This is the last of our 15 steps near Tzah. This is where we are accepted into the house of the Lord, accepted into freedom. So we say together, there's a final paragraph which concludes all of it. Together, concluded is the Pesach Seder, finished down to the last detail with all its laws and customs, pretty much. As we've been able to conduct a Seder, so may we someday perform it in Jerusalem. Pure One who dwells in the palace, support your congregation, countless in number. May you soon lead the offshoots of your stock, the redeemed to Zion. Enjoy.
Lishana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lishana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lishana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lishana haba b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem.
Next year in person.
Next year in Gottlieb Hall.
Yeah, there you go.
How about an Oseh Shalom, Cantor, to finish off our evening?
Oseh Shalom Imromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag
Sameach,
Sameach.
and thank you all
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Toda rabah.
Bye.
Signing off,
Back,
guys.
everybody.
Happy Passover.
Passover.
You did good.
Nice to see you all. Cherise, Jackson, Kayla, Bob, and
Have a
Mimi,
good evening.
Ian, and Susan,
Where?
and Doug.
Oh,
Susan and
Next year-
Ian.
Next year on the rooftop.
Yeah, there you go.
Alan, the Norlanders, Bob, Henkin, Sherry, Carol,
Hi, Doc.
and thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you,
Charles,
Charles.
are you
Thanks,
awake?
Charles.
You made
My
it possible.
pleasure. Chag Sameach.
How is that statue talking again?
Embedded in the stone.
All right. All right.
There he is. There he is.
There he is.
Where is he?
Right down there.
There you
I haven't trimmed my beard. I was a little embarrassed.
Charles, are you in the office?
No. I'm in
No.
my office at home.
Okay.
Don't you see the bassoon in the corner there?
Yeah.
That would be one
Everybody
of
have a
those things that
bassoon in
nobody
the
would pick
corner?
out in the picture.
You're looking good, Charles.
There's my trumpet. There it is.
Oh,
I like your poster, coolest dad ever there in the background.
Clarinet.
Clarinet.
And for the rabbi.
Ah.
Oh, nice.
Time for us
Thank
to
you,
put the word-
Rabbi. Thank you, Cantor. Thank you,
Thank
Charles.
you. Thank you. Nice to
Bye.
Next time, your person.
Thank you for an enjoyable Seder.
Yes.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
all.
Bye.
Good night, all. Night,
Bye.
night.
See you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.